Welcome to Feel Good for Men Who Want Change, the podcast all about healthy masculinity and how you can make a change in your life if you're feeling like something isn't quite right. Now, today's episode is with Josh Fineman, the founder of Mensch, a men's group rooted in local connection. And he is very much someone who embodies that change. As you'll hear, he went through the journey that a lot of us did, competing in school, going to university, taking the career that he felt he should take. And that all worked up until the moment it did. Some family crises and a supportive wife were enough to help him think about how he wanted to spend his time and how he wanted to show up as a man. And whilst he's gone down this very specific path of, creating Mensch and this group of supportive men rooted in local community, I think there's a lot we can take from the journey he took to get there. So have a listen, let me know what you think, and see if you can connect with a part of Josh's story in your own life. Josh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
No, not at all. And I suppose, first off, for anyone who is watching on YouTube or might choose to, hearing this, do you want to just give us a 2-minute intro on the shirt you're wearing?
On the shirt, sure. So if you're listening to the podcast, you won't see this incredible shirt that has a big giant sign in the middle, a sponsor, which is Mensch. Basically, I sponsored football teams kit who I was explaining I'm Jewish, and there's something called the Maccabea Games, which is the Jewish version of the Olympics, basically. And thousands of athletes from around the world come together to compete as you would in the regular Olympics. And there was Team Great Britain, and a client and good friend of mine was on the team and asked if I'd want to sponsor it. And actually the reason I did was because I've always had a kind of mixed relationship with being Jewish.
Okay.
And this particular event brings people who are religious or practicing to people who didn't even know that they were Jewish, and they come together and form a bond with brothers, Jewish brothers, to go and be in this very special event that takes place 4 times a year together. I just thought it's just such a perfect link to what I'm trying to do within my community as well.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a bucket list item that I didn't think I ever would want on a bucket list item. We went to like a match, and my kids got a kit, and
amazing.
And it's I wear it all the time now.
Yeah.
It's great.
I mean, it fits right into the trend of retro football shirts. It looks very cool. It looks very cool.
Thank you, man.
And look, I suppose that is a nice segue, because I did want to talk a little bit about your background and what your influences were growing up, as well as coming on to like what you're doing now. But tell us a bit about that. Like, what was your upbringing like? Was religion part of that? What values were you absorbing? Give us the lowdown.
It's a really interesting question, actually, because I think that story has evolved over time, and there are parts of it that I think I'm starting to let go of, and I'm starting to see other parts of my upbringing that I maybe didn't appreciate as much. So there are things I definitely appreciated. Like, I grew up in northwest London, suburbia. It was me and my brother. My parents, for all intents and purposes, were very happily married. And my whole life was basically hanging out with guys. I went to an all-boys school. My dogs were boys. My cousins were boys. Yeah. It was kind of like a very male-dominated household and social life for me. And on the surface, I actually think as a child, I thought I had an amazing childhood. I had parents who stayed together. I didn't come from a broken home. I came from money and wealth, and therefore I never had to kind of experience what it was like to lack anything in that sense financially. And I had parents who loved me, and I had a lot of close friends. And at the same time, when I look back now, actually there was other stuff rumbling on in my life as a child. So both of my parents lost their siblings very young. My dad at 23 lost his 28-year-old brother to a car crash. My mum at 18 lost her 23-year-old sister to a physical disability, essentially.
Wow. Okay.
And there was a lot of grief that they carried with them. And I was born, I think, a year after my dad's brother died.
Okay.
And whilst I've always been a deep feeler and deep thinker, I have carried around me this kind of dual personality of someone who can feel incredibly connected and joyful and adventurous and can be the life and soul of the party. And then on the other side, there's this kind of melancholic side to me, and there was sadness that I carried around. And I think actually when I look back, it makes sense, because I think I maybe, depending on if you believe in this or not, but I can see that maybe I absorbed the grief that wasn't being processed.
Yeah.
Because my parents were trying to survive, and they were trying to build something and move past the pain that they'd gone through. So I kind of carried a lot of that around with me. And really, my childhood, as I said, was super happy. And then 7 or 8 years old, I started to notice comparing myself to others.
Okay.
My school was like a private boys' school. Like, naturally, you're comparing each other when it comes to grades or comes to social standing or sports. And then the older I got, and when I went to secondary school, it kind of moved beyond that to, like, as it does, I'm sure, for all people, men and women, there's that stage of really comparing yourself in terms of your body image, or how good looking you are, or how many friends you have, or as a boy it was like getting with girls. And like, I frankly found it like really awkward to approach girls and then compare myself to the guys who didn't find it awkward. So all of that was going on, and that comparison started very young, and developmentally it's very natural, but it followed me all the way through to my early 30s, and it still kind of pops its head up every now and then, and I'm sure it will for the rest of my life, and that's fine, because I have a different relationship with that now. But my dad was like head down, focusing on building, very successful in business, wasn't particularly at home much. Again, as a child, I don't think I noticed that, but, you know, was leaving home at 6 a.m, was coming back at 7:30 at night. It was only probably when we were older that we all had like dinner together. And my mum was bringing up 2 boys, of which we were both challenging.
Okay.
And found it really hard. And so as the older brother, I think I became a bit of a golden child who wanted his mum to be happy, so tried everything to please her.
Okay.
And as a man a young boy who wanted to emulate his father, the messages either directly or unconsciously that I was receiving is, to be a man, you need to go out and build a giant business and make lots of money and then support your family in that way. And I don't blame either of my parents for that, but when you're going through life with this inside of you unconsciously, or when I did, like, it was all consuming.
Yeah. At what point would you say it moved from being unconscious, subconscious to conscious?
I think it really became apparent when my mum got in a really bad car crash. So if you can imagine the unprocessed grief my dad felt that he lost his brother in a car accident, and then my mum gets put in hospital 3 months after my son was born, and she was in hospital for 3 months, and we didn't know if she was going to live or not for a lot of that time. Like, it was, well, just like a dream or a nightmare mixed into, like, it was a very like surreal experience. And what was interesting is 2 weeks into that, going back and forth from the hospital with my mum, I was starting to try and create a semblance of routine again. And at this time I was running my creative agency, and I came home from work with this kind of glazed look in my eyes, and my wife had our 3-month-old child in her arms, and I was, I don't know, like worrying about the next deal that we have coming through, or complaining about some challenging stuff I was going through with my business partner, or just basically saying like I was miserable in my job or something like that. And she looked at me and she was like, your mum is on the verge of dying, and this is the thing that your brain is still focusing on, and we have a child now, and I can't be your therapist anymore. And you need to go and do something about this. And up until that point, she had become my therapist for about 10 years. We lived in a kind of best friend zone. We'd been with each other since we were 18, and I'd supported her for the first few years of our relationship. And then once I moved into career, it completely switched around, and I was for 8 or 10 years in a panic and worry that I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not building enough, I'm not big enough. And so this message from her just really hit home of like, yeah, something needs to change. Like, this isn't good, what's going on right now.
I mean, what a powerful insight from her.
Yeah.
Do you think she knew that that was what you needed to hear?
No, because I don't know, actually. It's a good question. I'd like to ask her, actually. Yeah. But she is an amazing listener and a carer, and she's a pediatric physio, and so much of her job is about listening and trying to understand people, and whether it's with friends or family, like, she's always the one who listens. And so I don't think she realized that I needed to hear that. I think honestly she was just like at the point of exhaustion and having a child and finding that difficult enough, on top of my mum being in hospital and just being like, I just can't do this anymore.
I'll come back to this sort of moment that forced you to think about this, but you touched on your career a little bit there, and I said to you I did want to spend some time on that, because I think the path that you walked is one that many men will be on, which is doing a job that you think you should be doing, or following a career that you think you should be doing, perhaps, zigzagging between a few, trying to find the right one. Can you tell us a bit about that journey before Mensch, before all of that?
Yeah, sure.
What was that period of your life like?
So if I think about uni, I remember whilst I had a great time, I was having conversations with my mum throughout uni for a long part of it, basically saying, like, I'm miserable, I don't know if I want to be here, I don't know what I want to do. It was a very like feeling of lost and emptiness and lack of direction or purpose. And the reason for that was because of the weight of fear around what the fuck am I going to do when I leave uni? And the fear that how am I going to emulate my dad when I'm not him, and I don't want to do what he's done, and I'm here to... I knew there was something in me that wanted to help people or put on experiences. I loved putting on events, for instance. So there was something around bringing people together and having amazing experiences. And so my first job out of uni for 3 months was I took on a role as head of events for this national student committee. And it was really interesting because it completely went against what my parents and maybe my dad thought I should do.
Okay. What were they thinking?
Like, you're not going to make any money from this. Right. I'm not sure this is what you should do. And actually, what was interesting in that entire experience is I was like, whilst it was everything that's natural to me to do, I froze in that job. I was terrified.
Okay.
Like, I used to sit down at my desk and have panic attacks because I was like, how do I do this? I don't know how to do it. I don't have the support around me. I have to figure this out on my own. And I think it was this overwhelming sense of I'm going to fail. And so a few months in, I left and I turned to my mum and dad and I was like, what do I do? And I used to love playing poker. So I had an internship at like a proprietary trading company, which is, I always describe it, it's like, imagine Wolf of Wall Street, but no cocaine or strippers, but Sky Sports News and weed. Okay. And that's basically what it was. It was just a bunch of guys sitting with computer screens. And anyway, people did really well at it. And it was a really nice bunch of guys. And my dad said, well, you really enjoyed that. And I think for him, it was like, that makes sense as a career path. So go do that. And so that's what I did. And there was a part of me that really enjoyed it. I think I'm quite a creative problem solver, and it was quite exciting and different. And there was a sense of camaraderie there. But my feeling of being successful which was essentially I have to hit the top of a mountain, was being measured by a number at the end of the day that was either green if I made money or red if I lost money. And I joined in 2009, which was like 6 months into the world financial crisis. And I saw loads of people leave around me, and I was there for nearly 3 years. It was like having your first girlfriend and not knowing when to break up with them, even though you want to.
Yeah.
And every day I tried to go in, and every day it was like, I'm failing. And then I kind of was like, it got to a point where actually I met my first ever coach. I had my first ever coaching experience. I didn't know he was a coach, but the people that ran the company really believed in me. They knew that I was struggling.
Okay.
So he showed me his coach. He introduced me to his coach, and I had a couple of conversations. And at the end of that conversation, the second conversation, this coach has turned around to me and said, I probably shouldn't be saying this to you, but you don't want to be doing this, do you? Like, you shouldn't be doing, you should be doing something else. This isn't, and it wasn't like asking a question. It was just like telling me what I wasn't willing to hear. But it gave me the permission, similar to my wife, to be like, no, I do want to change. And so I then moved into film finance because I was like, oh, I want to do something in storytelling. But like, I couldn't possibly go into something completely different. I have to sidestep into something logical. And I realized that was film, but it was really numbers and finance still. And then I moved from that into working at a production company because I enjoyed, my role was going out and talking to people and trying to kind of raise funds. And I was like, I quite like this part of it. Yeah. So I joined a production company and I kind of came on as like a commercial director. Yeah. And that also was like, there's something in this I don't quite want to do. So, and then I took another step and then I was like, I'll run my own creative agency because like, I want to be in the creative part of it, not just the selling part of it. And that grew and became, relatively successful. Like, we won awards. I had a business partner. We had, all the things that you would tick on the list of like, we have an office, we have a full-time team, we have a bunch of people that work with us, we have people that recommend us, we do quality work, we win awards, we're shooting ads around the world where, we're working with like some of the biggest brand names out there, and we're still a small independent operation. And yet I was 5 years into that, and our second son had just been born, and I was on a shoot in Mexico City, and there was 150 people on set, and it was like the crowning moment of our agency. It was this big global campaign, and I remember we wrapped, and I remember thinking in my head, with all the jubilation going around, I was like, I just don't want to do this. Like, this just actually isn't what I want still. Like, this is still not what I'm looking for. And that created like a year of processing. I think I just started seeing my mentor coach at the time.
And what's the dialogue like with your parents at this point?
I don't think I was talking to my mum that much. I don't think I was really talking to my dad that much, because I think actually some of the challenges that we face in our relationship is that I haven't shared things with him because I never felt like I could be met how I wanted to be met in it. And my dad, bless him, like, loves me, to shit, but comes from a world of operating as a fixer rescuer. If there's a fire, I'll put it out, and if he sees his son in pain, he wants to put the fire out. So here's what you should do, here's what you should do, here's what you should do. And I remember saying to him maybe a year before I left, I'm really like worried because I keep this still feels like a startup. Like I'm just, each time we get a job in, I'm thinking about the next job that comes in. Each project that comes in, I'm like not particularly fussed creatively about it. The only thing I'm getting fulfillment from is when my team come to me with their personal challenges, or I run these monthly breakfast roundtables, which was like a mastermind for heads of marketing, but essentially a group therapy session. And I remember him saying, like, it's interesting because it wasn't what I wanted to hear. What I wanted to hear is, you don't have to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault that he didn't say it, but what I heard instead was something like, you're doing great, you're fine, keep going, you know. And it's interesting, sometimes that's what we want to hear from the people that we love, but then some of the times, like, I think what I've wanted to hear is like, it's okay, you don't have to keep trying and proving yourself, like you have nothing to prove. And so that was quite hard, because then I was leaning really heavily on my wife, as I said. And it was actually only when I discovered men's groups that it really accelerated the previous 2 years or so of working on myself, to be like, oh, there is a voice in my head that's saying, you need to do something else. This isn't what you should be doing.
And what did that working on yourself look like? Because I think, you know, if I think about like, where was I 3, 4, 5 years ago, or where are a lot of men now, I would wager that there is a lot of feeling of stuckness, but not a lot of solutions that are either, they're probably well known to us because we're like in this world, but like the average guy who's still holding on to that script that he got from his dad or uni or career or whatever, like, you know, what do you do when you're there, you know?
I call it, the phrase is like, is this it? Is where most men get to. And, you know, like, I was talking to a guy the other day who is running like a really successful creative agency. On the face of it, he's like ticked all the boxes, happy wife, happy kids, nice home, all of this stuff. And he's going through that question right now, which is like, I'm not happy. I feel quite trapped by this life that I've created for myself. What worked for me, and, you know, I always like to caveat, this is just what worked for me, not like this is the tick box of what you do. I was really lucky I had a wife who basically gave me the permission that I couldn't give myself. And it was almost like an unspoken ultimatum. She didn't make it an ultimatum, but she said, I can't do this anymore. And that basically made me recognize what I'm putting her through and my young son through, and like, I don't want to be that guy. And I remember recognizing, it's this realization of really my own mortality. So when she said that, it made me think about, obviously my mum had just got in a car crash and nearly died, and I was like, well, like, when I'm on my deathbed, like, what am I going to regret? And then as I didn't think I needed therapy. It was still quite taboo for me. So I was like, oh, I'm not like suicidal, and I don't have like extreme mental health conditions. I'm not like right on the edge. And I thought, oh, well, like, I quite like the idea of coaching, being coached. That sounds quite cool. It's about the future and where you want to move towards. And as with so many experiences that I've had and others have now had with me, like, where you start is not where you end up with coaching. And that first experience with this really wonderful coach called Lara Cullen, we worked together for I think about 18 months, and she really opened me up to learning about myself. So like, who am I? What are my values? What are my patterns? Like, what is the life I want to create? What do I want? Like, what do I actually want? And what small steps can I be taking to move towards that? And so that started to make me enjoy stuff again, because I was like, wow, like, I'm learning and I'm sharing, and I'm not on this kind of plateau, and I'm growing, and it's not through doing or producing, it's just through like learning how to be. And then I think we did one big shift, my wife and I, which I didn't think was possible, which was we took 2 months out whilst I was running my creative agency and went traveling.
Amazing. With the kids?
With our 2-year-old.
Kids at that
yeah,
point.
so that was about 18 months into it. And that was overcoming another story in my head, which is like, I couldn't possibly take off more than 10 days from work. Couldn't possibly do that.
Far too important.
Far too important. Everything will fall apart. And, you know, she took me through a process of like, just do something that feels uncomfortable and see what happens. And so I remember the resistance to it. And we went from dreaming up, we'll go away for 3 months to like, actually, let's just go away on a nice holiday for 2 weeks. And she's like, no, what's a period of time you don't think you can possibly do? And so we went away for 2 months in the end. I think that was a big shift in me as well, because it was seeing the possibility of what happens when I realized I actually have a choice in my life.
There's so much there that I want to go after, but I think it's just really important to acknowledge your wife.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I heard it, but in a world where everyone's looking for like productivity hacks and all this stuff, like having a good life partner is the ultimate life hack. And I feel like blessed with my own wife who puts up with all my shit, because it sounds like, not just that act of saying, I can't do this anymore. You need some help, but also to give you the space to then do that help.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And not to be another voice saying, you're doing fine. Build the business. Like, in X number of years, we could really do that money. What a gift.
Yeah, 100%. So like, she was the catalyst. And actually, like, if I look back at defining moments in a lot of my life before then, and still to this day when I really need it, it's like, it is that person that gave me the permission to go and believe I could actually go and do something. And I think like that is the amazing thing about seeing a coach or a therapist or being in a group, being around other people who will say the things to you without the fear or the judgment or the need for you to be different to who you are.
Yeah.
And just say like, no, man, like you can walk away, or like, no, man, you can take that time off, or no, you can change your career, or no, you can just give it another month and see how it goes. Like, I think that's really powerful. So that was probably the catalyst. And then I would say when my second son was born, as I said, the other was just this like overwhelming sense of my own mortality. And I remember this was 18 months or so after my mum's accident, when my second son was born, and I was still at the agency. We'd done our 2 months of traveling, but I couldn't see the possibility of who I am if I leave this. I'm like, I was now 32 or something. Like I'd already changed career 4 times. Like I had 2 kids. Like I had this thing, and I'm running my own business, and now I'm saying I'm going to chuck it all away. Yeah. Like it was scary. And so my second son being born gave me the realization of a very simple thing of when my kids are 18 or 19 or 20, and they're about to enter the working world, and they may feel the same pain and pressure that I was feeling, this weight of, how the fuck am I going to do this? How am I going to emulate the blueprint that was laid before me? And hopefully they come to me and we have a conversation about it. Not what's the advice I want to give them or what's the story I want to tell them, but just like, what do I want to share that happened to me? What I did, the decisions that I made, the values that I held on to, the reasons why I made the decisions I made. Like, what do I want to tell them? And I was like, I don't want to tell them that I ran a creative agency for the rest of my life. That isn't why I'm here. And so that was I really do actually want to leave. And that started the rest of the journey.
Amazing. And what do you think it was that tipped you from feelings of stuckness from however long to this moment of actually leaving or starting Mensch or whatever that next step was? Like, was it your mum's accident, your wife's comment, your son's birth, a bit of all of them? And I guess the reason I'm asking is I always like to ask the men I speak with who have gone through some transformative change, what was it?
Yeah.
Because I think there is something in that mix where someone has that stuck feeling that I'm sure a lot of dudes can resonate with, and the life on the other side.
Yeah.
You know? And for everyone it's different. Maybe it's too hard to pinpoint, but I'm really interested in that idea of like, what was it that made you go from there to there?
The word that comes up for me is permission. And I think the flavor or the expression of that it has been different in each shift that I've taken. It might have been permission from somebody else. It might have been permission from the perspective of an experience. It might have been like death and realizing like, wow, actually, like, not just how do I want to be remembered? It's like, what do I want to tell people when I'm on my deathbed? Like, you know? And like I said, like, just a massive obvious thing is community, connection. For me, just like people that see the full me.
Yeah. I want to spend a bit of time talking about what you see from the men you work with and the men who are part of Mensch, but I guess that would require us to talk a bit about what you've built, what you spent the last few years doing. Tell me a bit about what Mensch is and your men's work.
Sure. After I had that moment of my own mortality with my creative agency, it was around the time that I'd been introduced to my mentor called Kenny, Mamarella de Cruz, who ran an organization called Men Speak. And Kenny's like one of the OGs of the men's workspace. Amazing guy. And it was very serendipitous, our introduction. And he said, like, come to a men's group. And I was like, what the fuck is a men's group?
Yeah.
And like, you know, like, is it even allowed in today's world? This was like in 2019.
Yeah.
You know, when Me Too was still relatively fresh, and there was this whole wave of narrative around inclusivity, and it was like, it felt like, I don't know, like, what is it? Is it a secret boys club? Like, what is it? But he was such a lovely guy. I was like, okay, I'll go check it out. And the that first session like really changed the direction of my life, because I think up to that point I had been in space with coaches in a one-on-one capacity, and beyond that my experience of being in deep conversation was like having deep chats with my mates, which is kind of a different flavor of depth
100%.
to within this kind of group. And so I went, and it was like, wow, like I feel energized, I feel like supported, I feel like I am feeling purposeful because I'm supporting these other people as well that are in this space. And we come from all different walks of life, yet like we share so many challenges, and I can relate to them, and I'm not alone. And that was a big thing of like, oh wow, I'm not alone, and I have permission to share this stuff that like I don't really share anywhere else. Again, not because people necessarily wouldn't want me to share it, but just because I don't know if I'd be met how I want to be with it. And that, I was hooked, and I was going like every week for 6 months, and then COVID hit, and that was around the time that I had told my business partner I'm stepping back from our creative agency. And Kenny said, why don't you come and help me? I'll train you and a bunch of guys to facilitate within Men Speak. It all went online. Loads of guys were coming in, and we were running these kind of hour-long daily check-ins, which still go on to this day. So since COVID, Men Speak's been running daily hour-long check-ins online, facilitated by lots of people. And so I kind of learnt my chops there. Very kind of non-traditional, and like met guys from all walks of life. And then at a certain point, about 2 years in, I was doing that. I was like coaching people one-on-one. I was like putting on workshops. I was really just like throwing shit against a wall and seeing what stuck, because I knew I wanted to do something that was about helping people feel alive. Like that was the only thing, and like really helping people feeling seen. And that's what I loved in all of the aspects of my work previously. And then I think I kind of plateaued. Like the first year of experimenting was just incredible. The second year I was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? I'm like 35 and I don't have a job, and I got 2 kids with 1 on the way now. I said to myself, I think I'm plateauing. Maybe I'll run my own men's group. I think I'm kind of ready to come out of the safety net of Kenny's organization. And so earlier that year, I'd gone on a camping trip with friends, and I said, so coming from a Jewish household, the word Mensch is kind of bandied around in our community a lot. So it means, it's a German word that means human, to be human.
Okay.
But in Yiddish, which is kind of old Jewish language, it means to be a person of integrity.
Okay.
And before even knowing that definition, when I was on this camping trip, I said to friends, do you think you can teach someone to be a Mensch? And they've immediately responded with, no, can't teach it. It's just implicit. You either are or you aren't a Mensch. And I'm normally someone who gets swayed quite a lot by other people's opinions. But in this particular matter, I was like, I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree with you. And that was really different for me to say. And so I really noticed it. I was like, wow, there's this like strong pull towards this thing that I think is true. So that's what I called the first group. I called it Mensch.
Yeah.
And then one group led to 2, led to 3, led to 4. And then after a year, I had maybe like 5 groups running. It was all online.
Yeah.
And then maybe like 7 or 8 months in, it was like, wow, this is becoming something. This is amazing. How do I build this into a business? And then as soon as I started asking myself the question, how do I build this into a business? It started becoming like heavy and weighty, and the pressure and the proving and all the things that I had left behind was coming back in. And I didn't burn out, but I was on the verge of burning out because I was running groups like 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
From like 8 till 10:30. And so I took really 6 months to slow down and recover from it. And then ask myself, okay, like I know I want to do something in this space. I'm enjoying the coaching. I'm enjoying the groups. I love men's work. This is like, I'm meant to be doing this, but I don't want to do it the way I've been doing it. And so I just slowly started making shifts. And, you know, it's been a kind of community and initiative that's really expanded and then contracted and expanded again and then contracted. And it's really evolved. And then at some point I was like, I think I want to run a retreat, because I was doing a lot of online private groups. So the same group of guys hit me up. And I tried one place a couple of hours outside of London with a group, and it was really fun, but it wasn't quite right. And then I was on a run in a park with a friend, and someone bumped into me and said, oh, I want to introduce you to my jiu-jitsu instructor.
Okay.
He lives 10 minutes down the road to me, and he basically owns a farm site, like 5 acres of land. And he lives on there, and he's built a yurt tent where he practices yoga and mixed martial arts and somatic work. And he wants to run a men's retreat. And so it was just one of those beautiful serendipitous, okay, that's where life wants to invite me into. It's that easy. It's like, and so I met up with him. We ran a retreat together. And then since then, we have, for the last like 18 months, we run swims on a Friday morning. He's got like a swimming pond. So we do this Friday morning ritual where we practice some yoga, have a cold swim, have a sauna, and then have like a coffee, and we have a little check-in. And the more work I've done with him in this kind of nature-based environment, the more I've recognized what really brings me alive is bringing men in person into environments that unplug them from the everyday.
Yeah.
And the more I recognized for myself, actually what had been lacking for me in this whole journey was a sense of local community. Like I had great support. I had my mentor who was my supervisor. I had my own men's group mastermind of other practitioners in the space, but I didn't have this sense of I have a local physical space that I go to.
Yeah.
And there's within the people that go there 3 or 4 guys where we're kind of like a men's group together. And I was like, shit, I think I want to build a local men's group of 100 men. And I want them to live within 2 miles of each other. And I'm pretty certain that with enough time and patience, I will be able to find those men, because there are definitely 100 men who live within maybe a bit more than 2 miles, but live within a few miles of me who would love this and need it. And so I started moving my coaching to in-person. All of my group stuff is in-person. I now just have 2 groups. I really scaled it down, and I'm like, I want to cultivate these private groups.
Yeah.
And I don't care how big or small they are. It's about just creating an amazing experience for the men who are within it and building from there. And I will run these community-wide activities every week where anyone can come. And of course, it's like paid for, and you know, but you know, if people can't afford it, just let me know. Like, it's very like I this is what I want to create, and slowly but surely that's what I'm building. And
amazing.
So it's kind of this space where men can feel like they're on an adventure together.
Yeah, that's what I was going to, because I guess, you know, can be guilty of assuming everyone knows what we're talking about, or like everyone is in this space as much as we are. To the uninitiated, or to, maybe to a man who's in that stuck space, who's like, what the fuck is a men's club? Like, whether it's Mensch or just in general, like what can people expect from a men's group, and, you know, what might draw someone towards it?
Yeah. So I tend to find that the men who join groups are men who are looking for some sense of camaraderie or belonging that seems to be missing. Maybe they feel like they're outgrowing their friends, or that the friends that they meet at the pub, or they talk about surface level stuff, or even if it's deep stuff, there are things that are going on for them that they don't want to share with them. And as I said, actually, maybe these men are at a stage in life where there's a part of them deep down that is craving that, and it can be quite scary, and that's really normal, like, to enter that kind of arena, so to speak. But it's definitely the sense of like, I'm lacking some sense of purpose. I'm lacking some sense of camaraderie right now, and I miss it because I used to have it at some point, or I've never had it and I want to find it, and I want to do it with other men because I either miss it or it feels like something that I need and want. So that's generally what I'm finding. It's a sense of aloneness and looking for camaraderie.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, you can call it brotherhood or fellowship or any of this stuff. I don't know if that language lands, but it's definitely the sense of like, I want to feel part of something again.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think that point about language is, you know, it almost feels pedantic, but it's almost so true, because I think sometimes the men who might need this the most, or benefit from it the most, are put off, or can be put off. A bit like what you said, like, I feel like I needed therapy. It was a bit of a taboo. Like, there's still, even though there's more of this going on, which is amazing, I do think there's still a bit of a barrier that people have to get over.
And that's okay. I wrote a thing on this actually for some companies that I'm working with around how to communicate to men. Again, not like I'm some sort of guru in this, but I just noticed that, you know, even for like talks, can you come and talk about fatherhood and mental health? It's like, but like, we can't call it that because dads won't show up for that. I think what men are generally craving is a sense of purpose, and that they're on some sort of journey or quest, you know, and like when you're working your nuts off in your high pressure career, and then you come home and you're a dad, or you have a partner that needs you, and your only form of solitude or escape or recharging is going to the gym, or it's watching Netflix, or it's going out drinking, or it's doing drug. It's like you're not giving yourself what most people really need, which is I want to actually be seen and met, and I want to feel like I belong.
Yeah.
And I think the power of the groups, as I said before, you can not say anything in the group and still feel incredibly connected and a part of something. And you can feel both, or I certainly do, that I am gaining and I'm supporting. And I think men like to feel like they're useful and that they can help. And we're in a world right now where I think a lot of the narrative is we don't need you, or like the thing that you think is useful for society isn't useful anymore. And I think men are craving being useful and responsible.
100%. It's a controversial source, but I always keep coming back to a Joe Rogan quote, which comes up quite a lot, which is that like most men live a life of quiet desperation.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I keep coming back to in my mind of like, you know, where you were 5 years ago, where I was 5 years ago. It's just like you're sort of listlessly in a career, doing what you thought you should do.
Yeah.
You go on your phone, everything's going to shit around you. You don't know your neighbors. And that's why I particularly love the sort of local element of what you do, because for me, one, it's the men's work, right? But two, it's the local men's work, the men around you. And the fact that it's in person and it's about moving your body too, it hits a number of things, right? From like getting off your phone, getting moving, particularly if you're working in a desk job. You know, we just need it. Where does that bring us to now in terms of like you and how you spend your time?
Yeah, it's a really lovely question. I think this relates to a lot of men that I see as well, is like when I talk to these men who are like, is this it? And I ask them like, what do you want? Like, if we could wave a wand, what do you want? And a lot of the guys I speak to are like young dads like me in their mid-30s to mid-40s. And the word that they keep using is presence. They want to actually be present. They want to feel like they can come home from work and that they can be there with their kids, or be there with their partner if they don't have kids, or just be in their life. And it's interesting because when I've spoken to my dad previously about this, that word didn't really land with him. He didn't really understand it, but actually going down a generation, that's the word that I keep. I just want to feel like I'm present. And I know myself that when I was in that phase, my wife said, it's like, you're a zombie. There's a glazed look in my eyes. You're not here. You're not here. And so when I think about my life now, what I'm trying to do is like, I love my kids and I want to be a present dad for them. And equally, I am a guy has some sort of craving, purpose, mission to crack people's souls open and help them feel alive and present. And so my life now is about how can I be, and it's not perfect and I'm not perfect, and I can slip into the same holes that the people I coach and help. And it's good to be able to notice when I'm slipping out. So like, I want to be as present as I can for my kids. I want to be as considerate and patient and loving and romantic as I can with my wife. I want to take care of my body and take care of myself and refill my cup. So like the Friday swims for me are a joy, because I will do that if no one shows up. I don't care who shows up. I'm just doing it, and come along if you want. And I want to build something meaningful. And that doesn't mean I want to build a city or an empire. I want to build the thing I actually want from a place of like, what does enough look like? Not just what does more look like. And this is something that we talk about a lot in my mastermind group, is like, I don't just want to build something for the sake of building it. Like, I want to think about, well, what does enough feel like? And I feel on the whole, I have that, you know, and I'm like, what a life that I have and have created. And I was actually trolled on LinkedIn recently.
Okay.
Which I'm pretty sure counts for like 1,000 trolls on other platforms. Who trolls on LinkedIn?
I know, that's a special kind of human being.
And he said something to me that really like ate me up when he first said it, because I know I've come from incredible privilege.
Yeah.
Like, I know that.
Yeah.
And for many reasons. And one of the obvious reasons for it is because I came from money.
Yeah.
And I could take some of the risks that some people find really hard to take because I knew there was a safety net underneath. And this guy basically came to me and said, easy for you to create that life for yourself when, you know, daddy has supported you for however many years. Yeah. And like, you should just count yourself lucky and privileged to have had that. And it really triggered just a lot of like shame and embarrassment, and like, I don't deserve this, and like I'm not working hard enough, and I need to prove all of that old stuff came up. And I really paused and breathed and really felt into it, and I responded as calmly as I could to him privately.
Yeah. And
I just said to him, number one, yeah, I'm fucking privileged. Yeah. I am unbelievably blessed. And yes, one of the reasons for that is because of the money that I've had. I've said, but I'm also incredibly privileged because I have parents that love me and a wife that I actually have deep conversations with. And I've built support systems around myself. And I listed a number of things that I'm privileged for. And I said, and I meet people and I work with people who have 1,000 times more money than me and are in way worse a position than I am. And I meet people who have 1,000 times less money than me and are more free than I possibly will ever be. So I say that because I just want to say, like, I've created this life for myself, which is deeply privileged, but it's privileged for so many different levels. And it hasn't been easy. And it takes work, and it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. And like the reality is every time I'm asking people how they got from there to there, regardless of their starting point, it's always a messy multi-year process that starts with some catalyst moment, some underlying thought that wasn't addressed. And, you know, 5 years later, they weren't where they expected to be, but, you know, privilege or not, to whatever degree in any of the areas that you listed, it all started with a choice to do something.
Exactly. Choice and permission.
Yeah. And that's not to disavow and not acknowledge the privilege as you did, right?
100%.
It makes certain things easier than it does for others.
100%.
Yeah.
But I think there was a sense in that of like just taking ownership.
Yeah.
And being like, no, I've been on a journey and I've created this, and I've supported myself and been supported to do it.
Yeah.
And so it is possible.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be remiss before we finish to like not, you know, you've mentioned your kids and you've mentioned separately about your father. Like, what comes up for you when you think about the messages you took from your dad, what they meant in your formative years, now you being a dad yourself, thinking about the message you're going to give to your kids. What comes up for you when you think about that?
Well, as I said at the beginning, I think my answer to that may have shifted over time, but I've recently just been asking myself, what is it that my dad gave me? Like, what did he actually give me that I've absorbed and taken on directly? And what is it that he's given me from the thing that may have been lacking for him? And I think when it comes to what I'm trying to share with my kids, what I am taking from my dad is humility, and I'm taking the courage to build something and be passionate about the work that you're doing, whilst what he did is not something I was interested in. Like, he was really passionate about it, and his incredible sense of humor, you know, like he has an ability to diffuse tense situations beautifully, like really perfectly. They're big things that I think I'm just passing on naturally to my kids. And then I think the things that maybe not through his fault, but just were maybe lacking that I am trying to pass on to my kids that he couldn't, is trying. And he probably he tries in his own ways with the tools he had, right? But it's really trying to listen and understand and be patient with my kids. Really trying to remember that they're children and that like they just want to hang out with me.
Yeah.
And so really cherishing that and trying to be as present as I can in those moments with them, because I'll look back one day and it would have gone.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I may struggle with, which he struggled with, and no doubt when I'm older we'll laugh about, that I'm probably going through as well, which I think is the challenge for most parents, is just supporting them but not trying to fix or save them. Like really let them fail and let them know it's okay, and let them know that it's not failure and that they don't need to prove anything. And again, like, I don't think it was his fault, but I'm not sure that was the message I maybe received. And I really, really want my kids to grow up being courageous and just trying things and knowing that I'll be there for them.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes that I'll end on is said by this rabbi that came up in like an Instagram feed or something. It was incredible. He said, "The role of every parent is to make sure that when your children think about you, it fills them with belief." And I was like,
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the challenge.
That's amazing, isn't it? It's such a complicated, messy thing because we won't know.
Yeah, of
right,
course.
till much later on. And,
of course.
you know, I guess the fact that look, you're even asking that question of yourself and thinking about those things, it suggests, you know, you're doing the right thing. And when you highlight those things that you took from your dad of humility, passion, the ability to use humor, like what are three great things to be able to hold on to, whilst perhaps adding some others that you might have wished they had.
Yeah.
There's another quote, which is not quite so beautiful, but which I use quite a lot, which is that we're all messing up our kids. We're just trying to do it as little as possible.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. My friend has this piece of artwork at home, which is something like, have kids, mollycoddle them, or let them make mistakes or something like that. And then at the end, it's kids need to go to therapy. It's like, it's the rite of passage of every human to... My mum really doesn't like this, but I really believe it. It's the rite of passage for every human being to start in some sort of whole, pure way to break, and then the journey is to heal that, you know? Yeah. And that's the right. And so like that, my kids are going to have their wounds, and my role is to support them in whatever way they need me to heal them.
Totally. And look, this is the wrong thing to bring up an hour into the podcast, but like that is the origins of masculinity work, right? Was literally giving boys, you know, physical and mental wounds, ripping them away from their parents, and then having them heal from that. Yeah. Which is a whole nother thing. Which, you know, but like, we've got to find the 2025 version of that.
We do, man.
Yeah.
We do.
And, you know, there is something about us all like doing that in our mid-30s because we've just been listlessly going through these careers.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, it feels like a really exciting time. Like, I know we're both in this growing initiative as well. It feels like, you know, what we do, this world has been around, like, you know, I'm just going back thousands of years, but the modern version since, like, I don't know, the 50s or 60s or something. So it's not like it's new, but I feel like we're in this new version of, and it feels really like we're part of something that's growing.
100%. Cool. Yeah, you know, like we grow up inheriting this script, and you just take it for granted that, like, well, everyone's got this all worked out, and then you learn a bit more and you're like, well, fucking hell, like, this is pretty new, and for a very long time this is not how stuff was done. You know, it's no wonder that just like crack on and get on with it is not working. We might have to save that for another episode though, because we're just about to pop open another can of worms, and we haven't got the time for that. Josh, it's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
What would you direct people to either learn about Mensch or something else they might need to hear?
Visit the website, bemoremensch.com. And then I attempted to be on most social platforms and then stopped. But I am quite active on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I always talk to anyone who wants to talk and then point them in the direction of the people or communities or things that I think could help them, Mensch or not Mensch.
Amazing. And look, any final words of encouragement to a man who's like, I don't know.
Yeah. I come back to when you're on your deathbed, what are you going to regret?
Yeah.
What is it you want the people you care about the most to say about you, what they learned from you, how you made them feel? And when you think about those questions, which are frankly the only questions that we should probably think about, like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing well, or you could be doing better, do something about it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be not just for you, this work in this world. And I think a lot of guys resist because I can possibly take time out. I can take time out for myself. And I think they miss the big picture. Like, I am a better husband. I'm a better father. I'm a better leader. I'm a better friend. I'm a better son. I'm a better brother because of this stuff that I do.
Same. Good one.
Thank you.
Nice, man.
Wicked.
How you feel?
I feel great.
Good. So there you go. That was my conversation with Josh. I mean, look, he's an amazing guy. What's not to like? And I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And I did spend a bit of time talking about the career change because I do think it is a very tactical, practical thing that a lot of dudes struggle with, particularly those who've fallen into a career that they're perhaps not sure is the right thing for them long term. Looking around them, at their life, at the world they've built for themselves. Perhaps they've got kids, perhaps they haven't, and wondering if this is it, as Josh said. So I hope it resonated with you. I hope it spurs you to action, because ultimately that's what drives change. And please, as ever, do like, subscribe, and share this podcast so that we can grow this movement, man by man, story by story. Work hard, be kind, and I will catch you at the next one.